Ladies and gentlemen, sit down, Mr. Sams. Mr. Sams, you're now going to sing the school's national anthem. No, what was it? The school's alma mater. Go. Fair East Side. Nobody? Lean on me? Every time we get
Of
to talk
course.
about school, I think lean on me. I just
I mean,
do.
how could you not? Or the principal.
Right? I'm the principal, Holmes.
The principal I related a lot to because I lived in that area. I lived in San
Hmm.
Fernando. Now, of course, that's not where the principal was, but I
Still.
lived in an area where there was a lot of vatos. So it was like this kind of made sense to me. There's hardly any black kids I can remember until we had changed schools, and then I met a lot. But
Mm.
San Fernando for a little bit. Yeah.
So we
Anyway,
out here, OSP fam. That wasn't even our intro. That's just what we do, man. We just start talking. It is your boy Shaun Q, my partner, like always.
Jay Roman.
Together we are OSP, and we are trying to get into something that we kind of started on the last episode. We were talking about Black History. It is still Black History Month. I hope you're doing something nice for your black friends. I hope you have black friends. We are getting into teaching. We wanted to talk in this episode about something huge that took place during 2020, during that awful shit disease ridden cancerous 2020 COVID year that we try not to speak of. But one of the big things that came out of that was what was happening with teachers, parents, and students. Before we get into that, we are going to get into our what's popping. And what is popping is I would like to know why my good friend, my brother in arms, Jay Roman, didn't let me know what was happening with Reddit so I could buy some GameStop stock. How come? I mean, you were on GameStop all the fucking time. You couldn't tell a nigga that, hey man, stock's about to go crazy.
See, that's the thing. I didn't know until it was already crazy. So here's the thing. I have looked at GameStop for years, and all I can think is I'm never buying that trash ass stock because when I see it, it's always $3 to $5.
Mm-hmm.
Because GameStop is a losing business model.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's keeping them afloat the last few years? Their collectible sales. I've read over and over about this because I'm like, okay, I still like physical discs because if my internet goes out, I can play the physical disc, no problem. Now I'm signed into PSN. I have now PS Plus, so I'm getting free games left and right that I don't even have time to play.
Mm-hmm.
I got like 5 free games on my thing, like full on games, Greedfall, whatever the hell they're called, New Call of Duty, full games, and even all the updates. I can't even get to them. All right, so because of that model, GameStop is trash. GameStop is in the toilet. So I didn't know until GameStop was around $400 per share. And I was like, what the fuck did I just miss out on? So, and I didn't know what was going on. So I got to work and people were explaining it. And then someone gave me the lowdown as to why it happened. I know why stocks go crazy sometimes, but it was a crazy surprise. It seriously went from the lowest it was in the last 52 weeks. That's how they see it on my trading site.
Mm-hmm.
Was like $2.97. I saw it at $381. I was like, there's no way I'm going to buy this stock. Why would I buy a stock that was $3 at some point this year and now it's 400? I'm not going to buy it at the 400.
Right.
That's just insane. Now it's actually kind of calmed back down. It's way back down. Do you understand though why it did what it did?
Yeah, I spoke to a bunch of people about it because that was what was hot in the streets. Everybody was talking about it in the bar. I talked to a couple of investors and they explained about the Reddit retail investors
Yeah.
and how these guys basically put it out to the Reddit followers like, hey, they made it seem like it was originally a joke. Like, what if we all just bought some GameStop stock?
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it was a plan, and the plan
Yeah.
was to attack a specific group of hedge funders and a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
It was a plan, and it worked. At the end of the day, it was a bunch of small investors doing to the stock market what large companies do all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool when large companies do it and we get
Yep.
bailouts for these big companies. But when these small investors do it, they freeze the market. Oh, time out,
Yeah.
time out. They're manipulating the market. Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa,
Mm-hmm.
whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bunch of bullshit is what it sounds like. But the people who made
Hypocrisy.
money off of it, yeah, the people who made money off of it, kudos to them, props to them.
Yeah.
They put it out to quite a few people. Kind of wish I had gotten in the loop.
Yeah. See,
Maybe.
I don't do any kind of Reddit, so I had no clue. And then the fact that they did it to spite these other guys and force them to kind of basically lose all their money and then some. I was like, great, Robin Hood story. I like it. And then, like you said, though, here comes the feds, or
Yeah.
here comes not even the feds did it. Robin Hood and them did it themselves. They just cut trading.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait. Since when do you allow that? Now
Yeah.
there's rumors as to why they did that.
Right, because they're
I don't
in
think we're
connection with
stupid enough
the
to believe some of them.
Right. There's some of them
Um,
I heard like they're in connection with the hedge funds that actually are like they basically give information to these hedge funds and let
of
them know
course,
what people are trading and so on and so forth, which technically is insider trading, but whatever the fuck.
yeah, can't prove it. We can't prove it. I don't know.
Yeah, right. So it's one of those when Robinhood stopped on the trading, I was like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. And
Yeah,
then TD and Ameritrade and all them were doing it. They wouldn't let you trade certain stocks. I'm like,
yeah,
that's kind of shitty.
yeah. Well,
But
a basic here's a big give a quick basic breakdown of it. So the hedge fund bet against the GameStop stock, and
right,
these guys are like, no, we believe in GameStop. So they bought all the stock to raise the price, leaving the hedge fund people in their betting side, with money coming out the pockets left and right. That's
okay,
basically the quickest, easiest breakdown. Of course,
right,
there's a little bit more to it, but it's one of the things I kind of wish I would have known too. Because as I saw it rise, and I was if I was hearing this news, once I saw it go to 5, maybe 10, maybe $20, yeah, give me 10 shares. Make me a quick 3 or 4 grand. But that's not what these guys are doing. Some of these guys are throwing in 100 shares, 1,000 shares, 10,000, 50,000 shares. The ones who actually have $1 million to do that
right,
and blow up these guys. But hopefully there weren't too many people who were dumb enough to throw everything they have that they didn't actually couldn't afford to lose on it and then lost after that.
right.
Because if they thought it was going to go higher than like the 400 before someone does something, they're sadly mistaken. Because I didn't check it recently, but it last time I had heard it dropped down to like 180, which is 200 less than I saw, but still 170 something dollars higher than the
Right,
52-week low. So
right.
it's one of
And
those things. How do we get to manipulate shit like that? But or not. And that's the thing. There's always insider trading, and I'm
yeah,
not sure how they try and say there isn't. But
I don't know how
whatever.
you figure you can regulate that. All trading is insider trading.
Yeah.
We've all seen fucking trading places. We know you get stock tips, and I've seen episodes of The Blacklist where he was like, "Why would this guy give you all these guns? I gave him a good stock tip on something that's going to happen in the next 6 months." Like, what the fuck, man? People, I've seen rich people talk to each other. They don't say, hook it up. They're like, "Yo, man,
Yeah.
do me a stock tip because that's
Well, I
an
mean,
investment."
look at the people who sold a ton of stock in our Congress, and we're
Hmm.
talking both sides, Democrats and Republicans. They sold a ton of stock before shit shut down, and then day or two before Pfizer put out their vaccine news, they bought a bunch of Pfizer. You're trying to tell me that that's not insider?
Right.
You're trying to tell me that when one of the people who sold stock is married to one of the heads of one of the companies of the stock that was rising or going down, and they sold other stock or sold millions of shares, right? And let me try and sell you this bridge right now. I got a bridge for sale right here, asshole. I mean, let's go. I'm gonna use that
Ignore the
old school
troll that's
term.
underneath. Right. Ignore the troll underneath. Don't worry about them riddles. I'll take care.
So, I mean, I guess a good point of speaking of that is we need to get educated. Since we're talking about education, we need to put some people on and get put on ourselves.
Yeah, man.
And we got to get into what these kids need to really learn.
The thing I love the most about this is the people I've talked to who've been talking about stocks are all young people. It's been a
Mm,
lot of younger cats and like, yeah,
mm.
with Bitcoin and what are you doing with Dogecoin, which also went up.
Oh, all
And
that shit's nuts. But
yeah,
yeah,
and it's just I love that people are that there's these kids, these young kids talking about stocks. Mark Cuban said his son made like $3 million off the fucking GameStop thing, and he was proud of him. I was like, oh, that's what we need a billionaire, his son making millions of dollars. Isn't that just fucking
because
adorable?
he has millions to throw into it.
Right,
That's the thing.
right. He took his allowance and turned it into $3 million. What the fuck?
So,
It's insane.
I mean, it's a conversation that rich people have with their kids and non-rich people have with their kids. It's
Absolutely.
what conversation is that? And the fact that kids are into it, our age and younger, is because I got to say, probably social media type apps,
Oh yeah.
SoFi and all that. These guys are making it so easy to just look at something and track it throughout the whole day. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do in that stuff.
It
And
is.
the was it the stock bits? I can buy $1 of Amazon at a time. Granted, it'll
Yeah.
take me 200 to 2,400 weeks if I did $1 at a time, but
Still,
to get one.
you get one, and a partial share is still worth something.
Exactly.
So it is what it is. So yeah, it's definitely an education thing. That was a nice segue. I see what you did there. So we had questions. We want to know because these teachers in 2020 having to deal with COVID, for the first time had to deal with teaching while socially distancing. And we personally have said after we were talking about it, we could not imagine what kind of students we would have been if we had to learn on Zoom or on on Google Meet or on Skype, we would not. I personally say I wouldn't have been a good student. I know for a fact. I to be in the house that I was growing, one of the houses that I was living in as a kid, trying to learn, shit.
If I was supposed to be in the house, my mom would have had me babysitting so she could save money on the babysitter, and then expected me to Zoom learn.
Right.
That's what
It
would
would have
have
been one
happened.
of those like, well, the parents can't just get rid of their kids for 8 hours of the day. So what the fuck happens now? It would have been insane. I saw that I was speaking with a teacher who comes in. She works for the LA Unified School District, and she was telling me about the no fail policy. And what that was that these kids who have been learning all year on Zoom um basically can't be failed. Like they can't fail. So all they had to do was show up in front of their computers and then they could not fail. If they weren't doing the work, if they didn't turn in any assignments, didn't matter. All they had to do was show up. She said some of them would show up, mute themselves, or turn their video off. She goes, and I'm sure they were like playing games or went back to sleep or whatever the fuck, but they would show up into the Zoom room and be like, I'm here and fuck this, good night. Right? Come
Wow,
wake up in 30
that's
minutes.
like, yep.
And those kids can't fail. They can't be held back or have to retake the course because of the situation and circumstances. And that blew my mind. I can't imagine a you can't fail year, how that would have been.
That
It's
reminds me of getting to class, having roll call, and then you sneak out because that type of teacher either never turned around
yeah,
or always had their head in the book,
head in the book.
something like that, you
Yeah,
know? And so you could just be out and you get the notes later. Like, that's
yeah,
nuts.
yeah. I remember that. Like, hey, I gotta go pee real quick. I'm never coming back.
So not even pass fail, just no fail.
You just can't. You
So I
can't.
mean, is there even a grade or is it just a
That's what I'm
pass?
saying. Like that sucks for these teachers who've had to come up with these curriculums to try to keep these kids focused and entertained and have them pay attention to this subject matter. And the ones who aren't, because every class has a piece of shit. We all know. We've all been in classrooms with little pieces of shit through every age,
Like, what do
all the
you
way up to
mean?
college.
Like,
I will
what do you
refer to them
mean?
as, you know what I mean, pieces of shit. Like, Tommy, stop it. Teacher's trying to teach. Stop fighting. Stop licking. Stop throwing stuff at that girl while you passing notes. No, that's not it. Stop writing dicks on the desk. No, stop throwing shit at the teacher. Obviously, that's not the answer.
Wait, you're talking about another student?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I was like, what is happening right now? Okay, okay,
little
gotcha.
students, little other students who are pieces of shit. Now imagine them on Zoom. Now
are
imagine
you
them.
talking? Are you talking about teachers' pets?
No, not teachers' pets, because those they're pretty bad too. No, I'm talking about the troublemaker, the class clown, the little asshole who won't let you teach. Imagine that dude having access to a computer, and now everybody's chatting, and he's sending fucking eggplants. When the teacher's like, "What's the answer?" He's like, so
Oh
they have
damn!
to deal with those little motherfuckers, or the one who's sitting there with his shirt off, butt ass naked, just dancing. And they're like, Thomas, put a shirt on. They have to deal with that shit. Like, if that's not hard enough, they can't fail that little motherfucker. That's bad. So
Well,
it's
go ahead, finish
it's rough enough as it is, the teaching that they have to do, but the no fail, I don't know, kind of confuses me. Another thing we wanted to know about, because we're just curious, we haven't, I mean, I haven't been to school in a while, and you haven't been to school in a while. I know things have changed, but the thing that changed the most is the advancement of the internet since the last
Yeah.
time both of
Oh
us
yeah, it's huge.
and it's one of those. I remember my 5-year-old nephew getting in trouble because he told the teacher, anything you need to teach me, I can learn online. And I was like, I mean, low key, he's right. You can't be that mad at him. But
Yeah.
yeah, and so we want to know. We're gonna hit up a few friends of ours, some family of ours who are in the field, the education field, and find out like how do you counter this? How do you counter what these kids are learning online? Like how do you? We're gonna talk to one who's an educator and ask her how she keeps them focused. And then we're
Yeah.
going to talk to one who's a parent and be like, how do you keep your kids focused?
Yeah.
Because
Parent, but also therapist in a school.
right, and so we're curious to know because I mean, like these people, parents have lost their minds, and it's one of those like you get to see the parents who have students, kids who are pieces of shit, they get to see
Hmm.
them now. These are the same parents who are like, they're like, hey, Miss Johnson, your son was acting up in class. It's like, not my son. Now you get to see how that little motherfucker is. And you're like, oh my God, he is a little piece of shit. Fuck, what did I do wrong? It was crazy. They had to show their ass. 2020 was
See,
students showing their ass.
I would like to imagine that hopefully, and I doubt this was the case, that parents were maybe nearby, maybe, I don't know, reading a book while their child was in class. Granted, maybe not like the 4 or 5 hours they're on Zoom, but at least for some of it, because as a parent, if maybe it's a certain subject that I want to know more about, or I think my child might need help with, like, or maybe I should listen in, or maybe I shouldn't because it's kind of private depending on the age of the student. You know what I mean?
I think
I don't
it
know.
goes a lot of ways. I don't think there was a lot because not only were you
Probably
asking the
not.
kids to stay home, you were asking the parents to stay home. And a lot of parents still had
Yeah.
to
Oh,
work.
that's right.
So
That's
they
right. That's right.
couldn't just stay home and watch their kids. They would have to hope that their kids were at home in their comfort zone behaving, which
Mm,
is a hard thing to do in general. You know what I mean? So at
mm,
that point, like, do you get a babysitter to watch your kids go to school at home? You know what I mean? It's just like it seems
mm.
like 22 was a shit show. Like I shit like that. You're like, yo, I gotta go to work, but they gotta go to school, but school's not going to school. School's in the living room. So I need you to watch them in the living room while they're at school while I'm at work. What the fuck? That's why people have been losing their minds.
Yeah.
That's why I've seen a huge surge in teacher alcoholism.
Well, there's already all
Oh,
these all the Zoom meetings where people were like masturbating, drinking during the meetings, putting
dude.
whatever they were doing on and forgetting that they're supposed to be in a Zoom meeting, and they're drunk as hell. Because I remember in the middle of the whole thing, or the end of like the shutdowns, that Kavanoki guy, lawyer guy, is like, call us. Half of you on the Zoom meetings are drunk out of your minds. Call us because drinking and driving is still a bad thing. It's like, I was
Yeah,
like, what's going on here? But
yeah.
I can't even imagine, man, because parents on there all drinking while their kids learning. Hey, you better
Right.
learn that math.
You listen to the teacher. I will. You listen to your fucking teacher. Hey, hey. So let's let's talk to a couple of educators and see what kind of insight they can give us. It's gonna be a fun episode. All right. Cool. And we are welcoming in our good friend and good family. Ronnie is here joining us. Ronnie, say what's up to the OSP fam.
Hello, fam. My name is Ronnie, and I'm so grateful to be here with my two brothers on this show. I am a math teacher and also administrator, and I've been teaching for 15 years. Done a lot of different things in education, from being an athletic director, math teacher, PE teacher, coach, international baccalaureate coordinator. And just all of the years that I've taught, unlike anything that we've experienced, in the spring when we went into quarantine with COVID, and now this year. So it's been a crazy ride, but I'm glad to be here with you guys today.
We
Nice.
are. Go
What's an
ahead.
international baccalaureate? What does that do? What do you
I
do?
mean, it's a type
What
of
does it do?
schooling. So
No.
IB schools.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's just the IB. And so I was in charge of like kind of coordinating our IB curriculum and, making sure that it's like, there's a kitty already. And there is
That works.
anchovy. Yep,
That
this is
works.
life. This is what happens when you're at home. So
Yep.
but yes, so I was the coordinator for our school. This is Anchovy.
Hi,
And
Anchovy.
okay, so I want to jump off on the first question because
Do it.
any educator I speak to, I have this question since it's happening in the world and I'm not a fan of it. What, and forgive my language, in the fuck is happening to math? What's happening to math? Why did math have to be changed?
Well, it's funny because since I teach at a private school, that we are not subjected to Common Core. I think that's what you're referring to. But
Okay.
one of my colleagues, her son is, and she sent me a picture the other day. Since it was like second grade math, and she was like, I don't know. She actually can do, sometimes she helps me, and she's one of our admin, and she'll help me grade papers and grade tests, and she can do math perfectly well. And she's like, I have no idea.
So what is the difference between, because you are a math teacher?
Mhm.
Are you have you seen what is the difference between what in math has changed? Because I didn't know it was a thing, and I remember seeing The Incredibles, and he's like, "How do you change math?" And then we're researching for this episode, and I was like, "Wait, they really did change math? Like that was a joke that I thought was kind of like just funny, but I guess it was an inside joke." What I
Mm,
mean, I know math's always expanding, and because we study everything, but
yeah.
what do you
Math is fun.
change about math?
Well,
Like,
Math is
I'll tell you this.
isn't there a direction you always have to go?
Two things. One is that because I teach at a private school, I'm not subjected to Common Core. So I can teach any method that I like. So I don't teach Common Core. So I cannot say that I'm an expert. I do know about it and I'm familiar with it. But number two is that it's not that it's new math, it's just new methods. And like I
That's
tell
what
my
I was thinking.
students, Yeah, I tell my students is like that's one of the things I love about math is that like you can take multiple paths to get there, but there's
Hmm.
only one answer. And so it's just a
Yeah.
different path to get there, different than, what like you and I may have been like learned, different than what some
Okay.
of my students' parents who are older than me may have learned. So it's just a different method.
It seems like
Okay.
the new method takes much longer just to like, solve
Uh,
these 7
I mean, the
problems
pedagogy
for the next
behind it, yeah, the pedagogy behind it basically though is helping for you instead of just like doing rote memorization or going through the arithmetic, it helps to
Hmm.
understand like why. A lot
Yeah.
of
Okay.
times, like I'll tell my students like, 5 to the 0 power is 1, and they're like, why? And I'm like, do you want me to do the proof right now? Like I will prove it to you, but like if you take a fact that 2 plus 2 is 4, I need you to take this fact that 5 to the 0 is 1. And
right.
then, like, if you want to come in at lunch or you want to zoom in later, I'll do the proof for you. And so, Common Core actually goes through a lot of that, like of how
Mhm.
to
So
do it.
I like the term Common Core. It feels like you're subjected to something really terrible. But also, damn it, I lost my train of thought on that. But that's all right. I thought it was a funny question, but I'm gonna leave that for later if
I'll
it
leave
comes
it for
back.
later.
Wow. Um,
But
well,
Common Core, I guess I never thought of. So I know there's core things to teach, and I get there's multiple paths. I had some teachers I remember being terrible at teaching math, and I did horrible in their classes because I just didn't understand. So I just walked out. I was like, I'm in college. I don't have to take this, and I left. But then I had a teacher or two after that, and they were amazing. I understood everything they put out, and I even made it to trigonometry. And I was like, this is amazing. I was able to get here because I had, I guess, just the right teachers. I don't understand maybe why there's so many paths. So like, because it's still, yeah, you get to the same answer, but you know,
Well,
two plus
what I
two is
understand,
4. Is there another way to get to 2 plus 2 equals 4? I don't, I
what
know
I
it's very basic, but
yeah,
I
but
want
like
to know what I will have to help my daughter with when she gets into the second grade. That
well,
sounds
you should probably
ridiculous.
start studying. You have about 5 years, and then you'll be ready for second grade math.
Oh
they'll
my
change it.
But
gosh.
They'll change
Don't
it
don't
by
tell me
then.
that. Don't tell me that.
they'll definitely change it by.
They'll change it. It'll
But
be
like,
uncommon core.
what I understand about it though is it helps to just kind of streamline things, because
Okay.
in the school here in Anaheim, because I'm going to speak for California, is teaching something different from Los Angeles, teaching something from the Bay. It helps to streamline like what should a first grader know? Well, here's
Yeah.
the curriculum. So that's where it comes from. And again,
Okay.
I'm not subjected to that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So let's ask because you've been teaching for years, and like you mentioned, this past year, 2020, during COVID, everything changed. You were forced to do social distancing teaching, which meant teaching over Zoom, and that how I guess the question would be how what was that like? Because I mean, we all see like you see commercials about it on TV, and like we're saluting teachers who went through this difficult year, and you as an educator who actually did it, how was that?
well, I'll be honest, like the spring was miserable. It was
Why?
incredibly challenging. It was difficult, and it was unlike anything we've ever seen.
True.
And so for us, we kind of saw what was happening with the numbers and the trends, and so we had about a week to prepare. And so we had a week that we set up Google Meets, and we were doing Google Meets at school,
Right.
making
Hmm.
sure the kids knew how to log on, making sure our school went above and beyond to make sure that every student had a device that worked. Because sometimes like they might have something like smaller at school, but then when they get home, like they might be sharing or there might be other siblings. So they went into homes to make sure that students all had technology, internet, things like that.
Wow.
And so when we left on Friday, we picked back up on Tuesday as if it was nothing, except for that it was unlike anything we'd ever experienced.
Wow.
So we started, I mean, because I teach middle and high school, so you're used to like a block or a period kind of like schedule. So it
Hmm.
was like 8 hours on a computer screen and interacting, and then you're
Hmm.
always seeing yourself. So you're like looking at yourself, you're always looking at people, you're afraid of what is being said. Are you muted? Are you not? You're in my home.
Right.
I've never, and then there was times where like I would want to talk to a student after class, and then I'm alone with them in their bedroom. And that made me feel like really uncomfortable.
Huh.
Or, then
Yeah.
trying to
That's a bit much.
yeah, and trying to teach math and making sure that they understand. And so I did what's called a flipped classroom, where I started creating videos. And so, like, instead of
Hmm.
using YouTube or other resources, I wanted to make it my own so that it was my energy, my voice, my humor. I'm not funny, but like, well, I'm not. you know. But like, I made these videos so that I could try to connect with these kids that I had taught most of the year, you know. And so that was extra planning that I did, because at school I just would teach that. But
Right.
trying to teach, like, I was like, do I try to teach on my iPad and share that? Do I teach on a screen? Am I writing on a whiteboard? Like, I tried all
Mm.
different methods. So when I
Yeah.
went to the flip classroom, that added more time. And so what
Mm.
then is that they had to watch the videos on their own time. And then when they came into the Zoom, that's when we practiced together, so that they could
Oh.
then show me what they understood, ask questions. And that's when I would work on a whiteboard, or, you know,
Mm.
with my iPad, and share the screen. And then the kids essentially, like in the spring, they had to then complete the classwork. And once they finished the classwork, I would dismiss them. And so, I mean, some students would do it ahead of time. And so then they would submit it, I check it out, and I dismiss them. So they were in class for 2 minutes, and others were in there for 60. And again, like I said, I'm in their bedroom by themselves, like alone.
Mm.
So also, you couple it with the spring, where you had a lot of social unrest, and, you know, working, um, being a, you know, a Black woman, and I work with a population that doesn't have a lot of Black students, you know, it how it impacted me, but then me needing to continue on, to
Mm.
continue the lessons. Like, I remember seeing my students staring at me on the screen, like wondering if I was going to say something or respond, because everyone's
Mhm.
seen the George Floyd video.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone. And I just am like, okay, so we're going to continue to solve inequalities today. And
Mm.
but I'm dying inside.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then you couple it with one more thing. For me, I'm a single person. And so, like, I'm currently in a relationship, but I'm not married. I don't have kids. And so at that time the world was shut down.
Mm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
I was absolutely alone.
Mm.
Alone with my thoughts, alone and with the screen, alone with the unjust and the unrest around, and just exhausted, just exhausted.
Mm.
So when you fast forward to the fall, we were fortunate enough to apply for one of the waivers. And so we were able to open school like in September. So I've been on campus pretty much all year. And
Oh, nice.
depending on the families, you know, if they have people in their homes that are, you know, at risk, or themselves, the students themselves, they have the option to stay home. And so throughout the year, we've been doing, it's not a hybrid where, you know, students can come and go,
Right.
is where I am looking at a screen, and then I have students in the classroom behind me.
Wow, isn't that like twice as much work? Because I mean, it's hard enough to look at the
It's
screen and be like, "Yo,
five
man, hey,
times
put the
as much.
pants on. You do that. You sit down." Like you, that's twice as much work, isn't it?
No, it's 5 times as much work.
Wow.
So like one of the things I do is every morning I get up and I do like a 3 to 5 mile like hike with my dog. And by the end of the day, I have done 10 miles. And when I look at
Mm.
my Apple Watch, 5 miles in the hills, 5 miles in my classroom. And what's crazy about it is because of COVID, we are like our different schools, because we have like elementary, middle school, high school, like are kind of like separate. We used to
Right.
might have intermingle. So I don't walk across campus to the library anymore. I'm just walking in my room and back to the screen, and back and forth and back and
Wow. That's like a restaurant job.
it is.
That much walking.
It's crazy. And like we don't have meetings in person anymore. All the meetings are on Zoom. So you would think like I'd be sitting more, or it's like it's 5 times as much. But I'm skinny.
So there's that.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I mean, my job was, I guess, similar because of COVID. We've walked a lot more because we had to get up more because we couldn't interact with people right in front of us anymore. So that makes sense. That makes sense. It's kind of crazy. So I have a question. You and I both went to college quite a long time ago. I stayed in forever. I was like the forever student. But did you ever take online courses in your college career?
Yeah, I took one going into grad school. So
Okay,
Sorry,
so
I mean, I also went to college. I just went to that. I don't know what the hell is
I
happening
I
right now.
I don't remember that, but
Wow.
um,
Wow. Wow.
so but
Wow. Go on.
oh, that's right, that's right. You
Shut
were on
up.
my campus at least a couple
Shut up.
times.
Push. Push.
So
moving on.
I can only imagine the one, maybe two classes I took online, how difficult they were. And we didn't have Zoom. I guess we could have done was the other one that was out before Zoom, but apparently is in the wayside now. Anyway, whatever it is, I don't care. But like we had that. What did you call it? Anyway, we had
Skype.
like
How old are
chalkboard.
you?
Skype. That's right.
Thank you. Oh my.
Because Skype is so far from my mind now, and they
Yeah.
should have been number one. But we had like chalkboard where you sign into this chat room, and then we were able to like pull files from. It was weird. It was that was difficult enough. It seemed like this time was going to be at least an easier thing for kids to do. But then I'm hearing all the parents that I know that have kids that have had to deal with this. They say it's a nightmare. Like their kids don't they can barely keep their kid in front of the screen long enough. You know, how do you keep kids focused when you're teaching? You know, are there parents around? I know the bedroom part. That's very awkward. I don't know if I could have done that. I've never been a teacher, although my first college major was to teach. I didn't go that route. How do you keep them focused, especially in a place like their bedroom? I mean, I'd be trying to show you my toys all day. Hey, look at this. Look at my comics.
During the spring when we did that, because it was so brand new, that's what we did. So it was always like, hey, okay, come to class in your pajamas. Come to class with your favorite stuffed animal. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, like I would implement that. Like, okay, today we're going to be studying, different quadrilaterals. Like, bring in something that's like a polygon, and so then it was like on the screen, change your background to something fun, because it was so novice that we wanted to kind of keep them. But I think now it's like, because we've been here and now we're almost at a year, that there's like an expectation.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, most of us, I mean, I'm in a different situation because I do teach at a private school that, the parents are paying for their education, or, not all of our students, pay, like they get different financial aid or even scholarships, but because of the money and the value, there's an expectation that they'll be there. And so, like, myself and many of my colleagues, we have like a participation, and, that means that being present, being like not laying in your bed.
Like laying on your back with the screen up like this.
Yeah. Last spring, I'll never forget. Like, I look and I see this like young man, and I'm like, I see his shoulders, and I'm like, I see the top of his chest, and this dude doesn't have a shirt on, and I'm like, so I type in the chat, and I'm like, hey buddy, can you please remember to wear a shirt to class? And it was funny. He had this like coy little smile, like it was very innocent, and he just wrote back, he's like, I was swimming in my pool at lunch, and I was like, fair enough. Like, he was on time to class. He had his homework. He just forgot his shirt. So, I mean, but there's a definite like expectation now. Like we've created like Zoom expectations, but also we also understand that not everyone has the most updated like technology, and so like it's okay if their camera is off, but it's communicated. So I have a couple students that have old devices, so they don't have a camera. And so when I say something, it's always the thumb up on the screen, or, they give me different reactions, and they're constantly, I'm like, you have to speak out. Like, you just have to talk. And so they do, which is nice. There's others whose screens are on that, like, here I am in February that I don't know them.
Right.
Yeah. That's yeah. That to me seems like the worst of it all. Yeah, like you don't get to the personal, because they get to hear you and inflection, all that stuff. But it's like no high fives, yeah, whatever, and giving people candy because they did good on something. Yeah, that's wow. See, I can't go to school right now because they're not going to give me any treats. Yeah, getting A's on my test.
I used to give Smarties, and I would give Smarties for Smarties, and it wasn't necessarily associated with like solving a problem, right? It was the kid who asked the question. I tossed him a Smartie for, thank you for asking that question, because other people had the same question and they were afraid to. So thank you. And so like now I'm like, elbow bump or on the screen, it's like, thanks.
Right? Yeah. I'll shoot you some Bitcoin. Don't worry about it. Good job.
But the thing is that I'm also wearing a mask. So then they don't see that I'm smiling at them.
Like, because you are in the class. Duh.
I'm in the room with half of them, or, more or less. It depends on the situation.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I totally forgot about the mask part. So you're not only teaching in the crazy 5 times as much work environment, but you have to yell it all through a mask. Yeah. I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that, because I mean, we all have to.
Well, it sounds like insanity. We can't explain to you how much we appreciate what it is that you do and what we just wanted to get a glimpse of what educators are going through and the struggle, because it's so much more than so much more than you see in a commercial. So much more than I guess we haven't been able to really talk to anybody about it. I've talked to a few teachers, and they said that some of the things, like I hear some of the things that bother them, like you said, the technology. is outdated, or not everybody had a computer, or they were like professors that like Jay Roman was in his AOL chat rooms back in the day in college. So it's
Earthlink, baby. Earthlink.
on Black Planet. So it's the struggles are real, and hopefully
Planet.
at the end of this year we return to some kind of normalcy, and you can have a full classroom again and go back to handing out Smarties. I remember I missed the videos. It was like 2019 when they would show like the coolest teacher had different handshakes with each student, and you can't imagine like that teacher's like dying inside right now because he can't
Mm.
have that interaction with the students. It's crazy. So
Well,
go
I'll
ahead.
tell you this, Sean. Like on that same note, I had a kid last week that had a really hard day,
Mm.
and I mean, like crying and kind of hysterical, and to not be able to touch that child, just to like a hand on the shoulder, you know what I mean? Like, and then I have my mask on. This was in person, and
Mm,
so he can't see that I'm just like loving on him, and all he sees is my eyes, and I wear glasses. So like
Mm.
with that, like so little of my facial expression is seen. You know, if he could see me, you know, like this, like looking at him with love, like I think it would have been different if I could have touched him. But it was like, you know, I look like this.
all right, you just yeah, like you're just judging him.
Yeah,
You don't understand.
Yeah.
and so
Man.
I mean, and you know, but again, I'm fortunate because I have students in my classroom. I'm
Right,
at
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
right.
There's
Well,
a lot of the world's going to get a wake up call in about a month when they get the vaccines and they all start going back. Oof.
yeah, things are gonna change. We appreciate you jumping in and educating us. We love you. We hopefully will have you on again in a future episode because we this definitely needs a follow up. I definitely want to know, like, hopefully, knock on whatever by the end of this year things go back to normal, just to see the follow up on now that you actually can communicate with the students. You can go back to I believe I heard you were throwing candy at kids. You can go back to pegging kids with Smarties.
That's what you took from that?
Right. Yeah,
Well,
right. Get it, Jonathan. Oh, you get a Smartie.
Yeah,
In a minute. Let's
sorry.
well, I think if there were any prizes given out right now, I think you'd win best hair at your school. Absolutely. Hands
There's
down.
no
All the
doubt.
time.
There's no doubt.
So,
He's like, not even a question.
exactly.
We love you, Ronnie. We appreciate you. We will catch up with you again, my dear.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast, and just thank you for what you guys are doing, keeping it old school.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. We would like to welcome in our sister, Valoria Jones. Valoria, thank you for joining us. Say what's
Thank
up to the
you.
OSP fam.
Hey, everybody, whoever's listening, I'm excited to be here. As already stated, my name is Valoria Jones. I am a mom of two. I have a boy who is 9 and a girl who is 5. And I'm also a therapist. I'm a clinical therapist, which means that I work with people in their mental health. And if you ask my 5-year-old, what do? I help people with their emotions. So that's what I do. I help people with their emotions.
I like that. Nice. So we wanted to ask you from the perspective of a parent who we were talking before about kids who had to learn during COVID on Zoom, and both your kids, from what I was told, are learning like Zoom exclusive. They're not hybrid. They don't go in some days, and it's all online.
Yeah.
And I guess a couple of things. Well, one, how is that different from when they were going to school? Like, what are some of the major differences?
I mean, major differences. I would say I get to see exactly who my children are.
Ah,
Yeah. There's a version of them that you get at home, and then there's that version that they have around their friends and their teacher. I get to see every version now. Like,
mm.
so, like my son, he's 9, so he thinks he's cool. And, he
He is
started
cool.
wearing his he started wearing his gold chain.
That's
So
dope.
he like he doesn't want me in the background. I'm like, your friends know that you have a parent. Like, you can't hide me.
Yeah.
So I get to see all of who they are, which is kind of cool. Because my son used to get in a lot of trouble when he was going to traditional school, and so he's a lot better behaved now that he's going to school at home because I get to be on him. I'm behind him. I'm on it.
Nice.
But I like that I get to see like all the different sides of him.
Nice.
Mm.
Did you do that thing like, hey, y'all ignore that? That's my roommate. Don't look at her. That's my that's the lady
Mom,
that
put
So-
some pants on.
But you say trouble in school. Was he overly opinionated? I mean, I got in trouble for that, but
Whew,
when you trying to handle it, you don't go into full detail.
yeah,
No,
why
I
you putting the kid on blast?
Sean and I, yeah, we lived in the
No.
principal's office.
I was an exceptional student. I never missed a day. I would never talked back. Just exceptional.
Yeah, just actually,
Yeah.
So his school, even though it's all Zoom right now, this school did school pictures. So we got to go to the campus and just take pictures just for like the yearbook. And so while we were there, he was like, "You see that lady over there? She works in the front office and she knows my name because I was always in there during recess. Like every recess, I was in detention." And I was like, "That's not a good thing, right?"
Yeah, why are you bragging about that?
Keep that to yourself.
Right?
Wow.
That's when they put me on timeout over there. Yeah, detention over here. What's up, Miss? Okay, yeah. We go way back.
Well, I mean, the kid's a talker, and he's a smooth talker a little bit, and he's very well spoken. So I can appreciate trouble. I can appreciate.
Yeah.
I want to know if that's all I want to know. Was it good trouble? Was it John Lewis trouble? But maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get there.
Okay. I mean, I can tell you, like I think it takes a certain adult to understand the gym that is my son. Not everyone understands it. Yeah, he's something special.
Like the full on energy typhoon he is, you mean? Yes, because that kid he's a giant kid for one. He's a beast, full of muscle and energy like I don't think I've ever seen, except for maybe Shaun's nephew, as a matter of fact.
He is, like my nephew and like my little sister, he is a walking tornado.
Yes.
Well, here comes the tornado, full speed, all the time.
And then he talks just like me, so he talks way above his age, I would say, at sometimes when he uses like words, like 5-syllable words, and you're just like, what? Okay.
Love it.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this. How do I phrase this? So because you have your job and then you have the kids, whereas before parents, like I see all the memes like, oh, back in the 90s, people just in 80s and 90s, 60s, whatever, before 2020, you just send your kids off for 8 hours and you had that part of your day. Now that they're at home learning, that's your day as well. It's not like you're just leaving them there. You have to like incorporate your work with what they do at school. So how have you not, and I'm trying to find a nice way to say this, lost your shit?
Who says I haven't? Seriously.
Okay. All right.
That's private.
I would assume most parents have, because your kids are now in your face all the time. There is not a time where they're away from you. They're at school. They're basically somebody else's responsibility. So how have you dealt with that? Do you smoke weed? Have you lit candles?
It's legal. It's fully legal.
I'm not even gonna lie, like it was rough for a while. It was rough. But like my therapy, although I'm a therapist, I don't see a therapist, but I do believe people should. But my therapy is exercising. So as long as I literally, you can ask my kids, I literally go on the treadmill for 45 minutes and I'm like, don't talk to me for the next 45 minutes. Wow. Do whatever don't talk to me. And I'm so hardcore about it. And my daughter tried talking to me one day and I was like, you're so cute, but I can't right now. I can't.
I need that kind of therapy. I got to do something like that. So you're going through this stuff right now. I have found myself telling multiple people, I thank God that mine is only 3 right now and she's not in formal school, because I don't know what I would do. I'd be the one that's most likely home, and she drives me bananas enough. In just a few hours, I see her every day. She does her daycare for a solid 7 hours or something like that. But blessings, girl, blessings. Goodness, I can't imagine what you and all the other parents are going through. It just sounds nuts. Now, as a therapist, you're giving therapy to other kids. Are you doing that now?
Yeah.
Like through Zoom?
Yeah.
And any in-person meetings?
Not in person, just because the numbers are so high in the Inland Empire. That's where I work, and so we're not allowed to do it in person yet. Okay. We do want to, because I don't work with I work with high school, so high school is okay through Zoom, but the younger kids, like they can't do therapy online. It's just they're having a hard time connecting. Usually with therapy with little kids, you're usually playing some sort of role play or game or something like that. So it's very challenging. The older kids, they talk to me just like this on Zoom, or they'll text, they'll talk on the phone, and I'm having sessions with them every single week.
So we were talking to Ronnie, and she was saying how one of the things that she misses about in class teaching is that connection, that contact, where she had a kid who was having a rough time. And the kid was in class, but she has a mask on, she has her glasses on, so he can't read her facial expressions. He can't really see, like there's not that, she couldn't put her hand on his shoulder, stuff like that. has that been a challenge for you as far as like when somebody's telling you something kind of intimate and you want them to know that you're understanding, you're into what they're saying, that disconnect because it's online, is that like a factor? Is it really that matter? Does it matter that much or no?
For the kids who don't want to, a lot of kids, they have a lot of shame or like about their households and like what's happening in
Mm,
the background. So they don't want their cameras on.
Mhm.
Those sort of students, I would say it's harder to connect and make that connection with. But the ones who are willing to talk to me and I see their face, they can see my face. Um, for me, I would say the challenging part is like a part of therapy is allowing the silence to happen. Like you allow for that awkwardness because sometimes there can be growth in the session during that time. But it's so awkward on Zoom. Like it's just like
mm.
I'm just like straight up just staring at you. You like you're looking at my house. Like I'm looking at your house. Like you can't do that same sort of thing
Yeah.
online. So you can't let
Wow.
that like silence just kind of sit there online.
Right.
Now speaking to an educator now, I mean, therapy and all that, regardless if you're a teacher or not, you're in that business, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I do
You,
therapy at like in the school district. Yeah.
yeah, like you went through a lot of schooling to get where you are. And I remember your first career in social work.
Hmm.
Now, how can I even, what am I even trying to ask really? How did that prepare you for maybe having to deal with this crisis we're in? Because you dealt with a lot of social work is tough. For people who don't understand, social work is unbelievably difficult. And so now you're dealing with kids with really serious trauma right now, dealing with, the COVID stuff. They're, like you
Hmm.
said, embarrassed for their backgrounds. There's no way in hell. I don't know about Shaun. There's no way in hell I could have done a Zoom meeting with any therapist as a kid because my mom was constantly yelling,
You could
like
have
all
done
the
it with
time.
me because I'm so chill that I'm just like, all right, let your mom yell at you. Let me know when you're done. Like, let me.
you know,
So,
I mean,
Hey,
and
take that
you probably
whooping.
would have heard,
When you
you,
take that whooping and then come back, wipe your face.
you
All right.
probably would have heard threats. You probably would have had to call the cops. So
Right.
I can't imagine like you've been through already a tough career early on because you dealt with the hardest stuff you'll probably ever have to, and now
mhm.
you're dealing with this crisis with us. And I mean, how are these kids? How are the kids doing? Really, how are they doing?
Well, okay, I'm
Is
gonna answer
are they having a great time just not having to go to class, or are they
that.
really really struggling?
Okay, first I'm going to comment on I think that my earlier career did help me because like you said, I would call in the cops, whatever. I understand where I feel like not every educator understands. Like I understand what actual abuse is that I don't think
Yeah.
a lot of educators understand because number one, I grew up getting my butt whooped. So I know what is abuse and I know what is discipline. And
Mhm.
also I know that not everyone has the ability to feed their family in the way that I might feed my family or has
Yeah.
the ability to house their family the way that I'm able to.
Yeah.
And so just because like a student is sleeping on the couch doesn't mean that they're being neglected. So I do feel like my earlier profession as a social worker has helped me just be more understanding of like where these kids are coming from.
Hmm.
But to answer your actual question, they're struggling. Like kids on
Mm,
every single level are struggling. And the
mm.
ones who aren't going to class, it's because they're struggling. Like they're not going to class because they either no one taught them how to use Google Classroom. Like
Hmm.
no one, but they're expected to know how. Like no one
Yeah.
taught them how to turn in assignments online. There are no worksheets for them to do. There's
Hmm.
and so the kids they want to be on campus as much as like they might have hated school before. Like every single kid would prefer to be on campus than being at home with their mom yelling at them or threatening them. Like they don't
Well,
they don't want that.
that's a perspective that I guess maybe a lot of people didn't think of. These kids want to be there. They
Hmm.
want to be able to like get away from the house in a lot of instances. So,
Just even think about it.
uh,
Like
hmm.
even if you weren't like a huge fan of school, you probably enjoyed going just because you got to hang out with your friends,
I saw
right?
this guy. I
That
saw this
is
guy.
the that is. I'll be honest with you. That is the only reason why I went to school. And
I think
Nick
we
knows
know.
and Bell knows. I out of 5 days a week, I was at school 2 days a week. I would go Thursday to find out what we have the test on Friday. I would go Friday and pass the test. And my teachers hated it because they're like, "It's such a joy to have you in class." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't want to be here." But if I was limited to like Zoom, I would have been at school all the time because I did not want to be home. And I would leave. I mean, I'd
Hmm.
leave the house, but I wasn't going to school.
Mm,
So I
mhm,
mean, I
mhm.
would want to go to school because I feel like there's a part, the biggest part of this that's missing from the kids' education is that social interaction.
Yep.
How do you make up for that social interaction? Do you have to bully your kids every once in a while just to teach them about bullying? Like every time your son comes out the bathroom, do you punch him in the stomach, take his
Yeah,
lunch?
you play open chess.
Yeah.
Open chess, I believe.
BB Bridges. Bah, 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 just, just to
I
give
mean,
it.
for those who don't know those games, look them up because they were serious.
Those are important lessons that we learn in school. You learn about, social awkwardness. You learn about cliques. You learn about
Hmm.
who friends are. You build lifetime relationships. But if you're at home all the time with the same people, you're missing out on that. So
Yep,
how do you
exactly.
like supplement that?
As far as my own kids, I'm gonna be real. Like, I'm so concerned about my son. He he's a nerd. Like, he is a dork, and I love him for it. But I want him to excel both socially and academically. And I
Right.
think being around me all day is not making it any better. Like, it's
Oh,
not. It's not.
I didn't think about that.
It's like you imagine a tornado, but in a bottle. Just, just if you don't open this, jar soon,
that's, that's a really good point.
somebody
That's a
didn't
really
open
good
this
point.
jar, it's gonna shatter. It's crazy. Yeah, I wonder about that, like how people are supplementing that actual interaction. How do you? Because even with their friends, they can only talk to them same way on Zoom.
Hmm.
Yeah.
They're not. I don't know, playing and wrestling and running and jump
At least,
sport.
at least I hope not. I mean, that's part of the reason why we can't seem to keep it under control is because we've allowed so much of that in this country. But I have a question though. Going back to the tough time they're having, did Inland Empire do like LA did and actually try and provide as many laptops and stuff like that as possible and Wi-Fi?
Well,
Um,
every school district is different, but I would say for the most part, that's what I'm hearing. Everyone in my school district got their own laptop, and anyone who didn't have Wi-Fi could get Wi. Like, literally, the district was buying people internet access. Like, they were
yeah, I
paying
was
for.
hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. I was hearing like some companies were doing that. They were giving it to the neighborhood or whatever. If you had a child in school and stuff like that, it just always makes me wonder: is there ever enough you can do? Because our whole dynamic has changed, and to change a kid's life like that, as an adult, we're like, damn, we got to do what we got to do. We may be exhausted, but we're going to go do it. But as a kid, that I can't imagine. That's the emotional trauma of this and going back, and I would just feel awkward. Plus, I wouldn't be able to have any girls around. You know what I mean? Like, where are all the girls at? You know what I mean? Or Viltria
Yeah.
wouldn't be around. I guess she would be around. I'd have to live with. I would have had to live with y'all or something.
We would have had you too. Like, come on, come on.
I know. I know.
You-
I don't know what Sean would have done because I don't know.
I would
Him and his boys.
I would have done what I did before. I would have found my way over to the house every once in a while. Everyone like once a month just pop up. Yeah, I would have found a way over. That is a weird one. That's I don't know how kids are dealing with it. I mean, the kids today. I'm hoping this is making the kids stronger. I guess in your opinion, if you could, because I mean, like we make jokes, and all the old school people, we make jokes like, oh, we were out playing in the dirt till the street light came on, our immune systems were stronger, blah blah blah. But what these kids are dealing with emotionally and mentally is something that a lot of us didn't have to. Like
Mhm.
I feel like this is gonna make them stronger mentally and emotionally than a lot of us were because we didn't have to deal with this.
That's the hope, but I mean, like, younger kids are resilient. Like, they are so resilient. But the older ones, like, they're almost basically formed as humans and who they're going to be,
Mhm.
and they were never taught how to deal with things. Like, they were,
Mm.
they were coddled, and then they were thrown in this hard situation, and then the parents are like, well, I'm dealing with it, so you got to deal with it, and no one's like there to help catch them or help teach them. It's
Mm.
just kind of like, get over it. Whereas I feel like the younger generations, like I already said, they're resilient already, and then on top of it, I feel like they have more padding, more support, because it's like, oh, you're babies, let's figure out how to, like,
Right.
prepare you better for this. Whereas the older ones are just like, you're almost adult
Yeah.
anyway, so, like, figure it out.
In the last conversation with Ronnie, she brought up the social unrest while she was teaching that she was just dying inside because they all watched the George Floyd video. Of course, not during class and stuff, but she felt like everyone was staring at her, wondering is she going to crack or say something or address it, and she just didn't. Now you have children that were in Zoom school, I guess you could say, during this, so they didn't have maybe the interaction of going to school and have everyone talking about it like we did with the riots and Rodney King and all that stuff. How have you been able to maybe teach him what has happened over the summer, or was he not able to see any of it really anyway? So there wasn't a question.
Mm.
I mean, was that a thing this summer for you guys?
It was a thing. Let me tell you, I'm raising a black male. I am,
Yes.
and I am aware of that every single day. And so, and my young, sweet, innocent child wants to be a police officer when he grows up. And so,
Man, tell him to come talk to Uncle Sean, Uncle Juan, and Uncle Sean. before that.
We have some issues, quarrels, suggestions,
You
recommendations to go in another direction. I'm joking.
You guys are more than welcome to have conversations with him. But yeah, I feel like there was like this sort of like cognitive dissonance with him. Like these people who I idolize are doing these bad things. How can that be? And so having these conversations, like, okay, so down in San Diego and Santee, that's a city down in San Diego, they had people going to the grocery store with KKK hoods on and like having to explain to my son what the KKK is, and and then having to explain to a 5-year-old what racism is, and then having my white friends, like I asked them, have you ever talked to your kids about racism? And they're like, no, I don't think it's time yet. Well, I don't have a choice. Like
Right.
I don't have a choice to decide whether or not it's time, because the world is going to like. And then we're walking down the street and my son saw a cop car coming and he was like, come on, let's run from it. Like, and I was just like, you got to understand, you can never ever run from a cop car. Like, and he's like, why? We didn't do anything bad. They don't care. They
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
Plus, you just run automatically. Oh, they must have done something. They see me.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, but I understand he's 9, so I get he thinks that's a game. That's crazy. I never thought of a child who wants to be a cop and then sees a cop do what he did to George Floyd, and maybe the questions after that. I never thought about that. That's wow. That's intense.
Yes, it was so intense. Like seeing, like, oh gosh, those months were rough. Like my son is really innocent, and as you already pointed out, he's a big kid, and so at some point I have the displeasure of breaking that innocence a little bit, just so he's prepared for the world. They talk about the what is it, like I don't know, the princifying or adultifying of young Black children, like the world places on them this extra, like you see a young white boy and you're just like, oh, how cute he is. But then you see a young Black boy and you're just like, oh, he's almost a man. And it's, like we have to stop that language. Like I love the fact that he's like a boy. He's such a boy and he's a young, innocent boy. But at the same time, I feel like, oh, I have to take some of that away just so he's prepared for the world. And so like, all of that happened, it affected me a little bit professionally, but it affected me so much, like personally, definitely.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you saw, I think we had the episode, that weekend, Shaun, we did that episode.
Yeah.
That was intense enough. And I don't know if y'all went to any of them, but we protested. We were out there on the streets, kneeling, signs and everything. Me, Brooklyn, Beltria, we were doing our thing. And there was a couple thousand people there on the corners here in South Orange County. It was crazy. I can't even, and my little girl, she doesn't really know what's happening. She just sees we're all out there. And so to have to think about how to explain it. I mean, I've told Shaun about this, but have you ever seen the movie The Hate You Give?
No, I'm familiar with the story a little bit, but I never saw it.
So I'd say it's a very, very serious story, of course. You and Brian should maybe watch it. Don't let Cassius watch it. I wouldn't say yet. But the conversation that they have in the very, 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 very beginning of the movie, I've had that conversation with my brother, who happens to be a lot darker than I am. And I say a lot, but even though it's not that much, he's a lot more than I am, is what I mean.
Right.
And Shaun knows the conversation, and he wasn't there for that one in particular, but I've had that conversation with him. And I can't imagine the day you got to break that to Cassius, what it sounds like it's going to be coming up pretty soon, actually, because especially he's a big kid and he hasn't even hit puberty.
Right.
He hasn't even hit puberty. That kid, if he sprouts the way I think he is, he's going to be a beast.
Yeah.
And to think how innocent he is and how someone could maybe look at him as a threat would be heartbreaking.
Exactly. Like, and he loves his like Nerf guns, like. And...
Yeah, we're not even getting Nerf guns. So we won't even think about that right now. That's just nuts.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say there was this other movie. I can't remember what it was. I'm blanking. What's the Olivia Pope? What's her name? Oh, Kerry Washington. She had this movie that came out on Netflix, and it was basically her play that she was in, and it was just like the play made into a movie. I don't remember the name of it. And the boy was a mixed child, and so they never showed him, but we can assume that he was maybe like Shaun's complexion, like clearly like a Black man, but lighter enough. He's hanging out with a bunch of white boys, and he got, I don't know, like just the movie made me think about my son so much, and the fact like how you have to educate your child, like just because they have things, just because they can pass with a certain crowd, like if the majority of their peers are a different race or whatever, you still have to teach them how to be that individual who's going to be, pointed out as like you were the dangerous one, or you were the one that I'm, and so it's complicated. Being a parent is not easy. All three of us know this. Like, it is not easy, and we all have our different stories of what we're going through. And
we all have brown kids.
Yep, and it doesn't stop.
I love that my daughter did not come out as light as me, but I also know the responsibility I have now to teach her what she needs to know from my perspective, and of course, mom's perspective, which everyone knows what she looks like already. So,
yeah.
Let's ask you one more before we get out, and it's a very important question that I want to ask most parents, because we have to deal with it now, and our parents didn't have to deal with it before. How do you counter, as a parent, what your kids are learning online? And when I say that, I mean, when we were kids and we asked our parents questions and they gave us answers, we'd say, why? And they'd say, because I said so, which, J. Roman, that phrase, because I said so, makes his soul feel some type of way. Like, he gets so
always
by that phrase. I said so, but that's not an answer. Now, anything you want, kids have access to all knowledge at their fingertips. So you can say, here's how this is. And they go, well, Google said it like this. How do you counter that as a parent?
Okay. With a belt.
The funny thing about my child is that he has stopped even asking me things. Like, he's just like, oh, you want to know what I learned today from Google? So I don't even get asked the questions anymore. He's just like, well, or like, I will be doing something and not know how to do it. Why don't you just ask Google? Like, you're a little behind already. And so literally my child thinks I know nothing. And I can tell he thinks I know nothing.
So good. I love it. Like,
and it's so clear. Like, it's so clear. He thinks, you know how like kids, they look up to their parents and they think they know everything. And then at some point that bubble pops. Mm-mm.
Right.
My child literally, he thinks I know
that bubble never formed.
Exactly.
I guess I can appreciate my daughter in the why stage right now. Why? I'm gonna appreciate that more, because there's gonna be a point where she gets to not having to ask me anything, because she can just Google the damn thing.
Yes.
I remember John Legend both turning on me and helping me at the same time, because there was a part where when you had the Google Home or the Google Mini, the guest voice was John Legend. And my daughter, she knew John Legend's voice. So the first time she heard it, after that, everything was, hey, Google, sing me a song. Hey, Google, what's this? I was like, oh, so I should just leave then.
So Daddy, you can't sing like John Legend can.
Yeah, I was like, well, John Legend's raising my kids, so I'm gonna go then.
Yeah, you're just not.
She didn't ask me shit after that. Hey, Google, I have a question. I was like, all right, but I'm right here. I know the answer. Yeah. I'll ask Google.
Nope.
Like, okay,
damn, see, you two are giving me even more. This is great, because I'm still a young parent, of course, of a young child, and to think that
you're not a young parent. So.
Well, no, I mean young in the experience, but inexperienced parents, I should say, to think that, wow, in just a few years she's going to just stop asking me questions because she doesn't have to anymore. She's probably going to think I'm a moron, you know, which, I don't need more than who already thinks that to think that, especially at home. So,
I don't need more people thinking I'm stupid.
The other day, my son did something and I knew he was doing it wrong. And so he did it, and then he discovered, and I was just like, yeah, I knew that. And he's like, why didn't you tell me? Because you don't listen to anything I say anyway. You're just gonna ask Google, so go to Google. Go do your thing.
Brilliant.
Maybe one day we'll have him on the show to get his perspective.
We should definitely do a kids say the darndest thing type episode. Just because we're old school, just to hear what they're talking about today, it would be hilarious to me. Plus, you're old, so it'd be really funny. I
would just look at them like,
thank you. What do you mean swag? What's swag? So Lori, we want to thank you for joining us. We appreciate you sitting in and giving your input. We understand what parents are going through right now. It's never been done before. So I guess we can kind of rub that in our parents' face.
Yeah.
like, yo, if you weren't in a war and you're not dealing with a pandemic, you didn't have it that bad.
You didn't. I don't care that you raised 4 girls by yourself. It still wasn't during a pandemic, so I got you. I got you.
Right?
Oh my goodness!
Remember that 8 hours you had to yourself every day? I don't know what that's like.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if this would have happened while we were in school, I don't think I'd be alive.
Oh yeah.
My mom texted me the other day and was like, there was no way I could have done it. No way.
I like that she can admit that, because there's all the people, I would have known. You would have known. Somebody would have got murdered. Especially in my household.
Ouch.
We want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for sitting with the OSP fam. We will absolutely have you back on. You enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's Super Bowl weekend. We're recording this.
Woohoo! Thanks, guys, for having me.
Absolutely. We will have you back on again, my dear. Take care.
All right. Bye, guys.
We want to thank the ladies for sitting in with us and giving us their expertise. Before we get out of here and get out of your face, we want to share with you our what the shit. Our what the shit is one of the most what the shittiest what the shits we've had. If you have been near, I don't know, a phone or social media at some point in time, you've heard about this woman who decided to spray Gorilla Glue in her hair to keep her hair intact and then was surprised when that shit did not move
For a month.
for a month. Some fucking TikToker, who's I believe is around our age, was spraying. She sprays the glue in her hair to keep her hair down, make sure her edges is on point. Ran out of that and decided to get Gorilla Glue, doing no research on it. If there's anything that we fucking preach at OSP, it's do your fucking research, especially before you do something to your body. Little bit of research. She did none. As she's showing the can of Gorilla Glue that didn't come out, you can see it says heavy duty. And the pictures of shit that it glues are shit that you're not supposed to put normal glue on.
Mm-hmm.
She put that in her hair. She said it didn't come out. She was complaining. She went to the ER. They were like, we don't know what the fuck to tell you. We can't help you.
They gave her acetone wipes.
Yeah, right. They're like, I'll try some alcohol or something. I don't know, acid.
But that burned her scalp, of course.
Right?
Of course it did.
Yeah, bitch, we don't know what the fuck. What are you supposed to tell you? No one's ever done that. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? They said she's talking about suing Gorilla Glue, and Gorilla Glue is gonna be like, remember when that person burned themselves with hot coffee from McDonald's?
Yeah.
And they sued McDonald's. The face on the people from McDonald's was this. What the fuck? Bitch, it was hot coffee.
Yeah. And you decide to put it in your crotch.
It's Gorilla Glue. It's supposed to make shit stick almost forever. And you put it in your hair. Research, people. I don't know a nice way to say that. I don't want
to. I just got a couple things for this one. I believe on the packages.
Research. I'm sorry.
I believe on the packages of those things. Research or not, all you have to do is read a little bit, and it does say, do not contact with skin, if I'm correct, or wash immediately. Should not be long-term contact with skin, something like that. Like crazy glue on the fingers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to do it, and if you do, you better go get yourself, I don't know, rinse off quickly before it sets in and your fingers are stuck together for a short time or whatever it's going to be. So Gorilla Glue, I mean, when I first heard about it, I'm like, does Goo Gone help? Can she like lather in Goo Gone? But apparently not. And her hair is stuck for a month, apparently. So last I heard though, her GoFundMe has made $15,000.
So I don't, oh my God. I don't know what bothers me more. The fact that she was dumb enough to do it, or the fact that people are dumb enough to donate to contribute to her stupidity.
And a plastic surgeon has apparently volunteered their expertise to help. Oh my gosh.
Why are we contributing to stupidity? Why? Some people.
So I mean,
people have to learn the hard way, bro. Like, why? What? We don't have teachable moments anymore. We don't have life lessons anymore.
So
everything has to be fixed, and it has to you have to have money thrown at it, and everything has to be remedied.
There's no teaching common sense, is something I've said for a long time, and I like to think I have a lot of, and I try to make sure my daughter knows. This lady is our age and apparently a teacher, if I'm correct. I don't remember.
Fuck me.
So I just want to keep giving you all the details. all the details. I mean, someone correct me, please, when you see this. If she's not a teacher, I thought I heard that she was a teacher, and I heard that she was our age. Which when I saw the video, I thought she was much younger. So kudos for that. But all those details that just make you just love yourself.
You ever wonder?
Should have left that one out.
Like, have you ever met somebody and you're like, how did you live this long?
Yes,
like
many times.
She's one of
Anytime.
those. Like, how did you make it out of the house without hurting yourself today? Like, how are you here?
Yeah.
What bubble wrap society do you live in that has helped you survive in our world
Yeah.
this long? That is
Yeah.
fucking insane to me.
Tell me about
And I want to go fund me. There are people on the fuck. You know what? We want to thank you guys for joining us. Till next time, I'm Shaun Q. Be smart.
it. Jay Roman, shake it out, baby. Shake it out.
Keep it old school. Fucking shit. A teacher, bro? Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Are you fucking kidding me, man?